All right, my last stream crashed. So there was a point I wanted to make. I could wait till tomorrow to make it if necessary. But we'll see if anyone can see me. Hey, I'm back. All right, we'll give people a chance to come in. I love these people, though. I love this idea of the people that, like, it's something I deal with all the time. Maybe you could make the argument that I reciprocate harder against people that come at me. But I love the people that want to, like, start with the name calling and stuff like that. Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. I just want to give people a chance to switch back over. And then they can't handle it when you push back on them. It's like, okay. They let me back on. They did it. While we're waiting here for a couple people to get back on, it is worth mentioning James Dennehy, who was at the New York FBI office, the head of the FBI office in New York, was forced to resign today under allegations that his office was hiding some of the Epstein files. This is a guy who came out during the Trump transition or right after he was elected and sent a letter that became public to his field office saying, oh, we got to dig in, we got to fight this Trump administration, blah, blah, blah. Good riddance to those people. Trump is entitled to have people at the executive agencies that he's in charge of that aren't intentionally trying to fight him and sabotage him. So good news to get this guy out. It is not enough if the people that are intentionally hiding documents or people that are intentionally leaking things like ICE raids to the press, it's not enough to just fire those people, by the way. They must pursue criminal charges against those people. Like, for example, if you leak that there could be an ICE raid, what happens if they're about to raid a place that has, like, MS-13 in it? And now they're prepared and they shoot someone. Then what? So it's not enough just to fire these people, though. That's a good first step. They ought to be investigated, and if they've broken any laws, criminally charged. Trump shouldn't support Israel. He should cut off funding to them as well. He's not cowardly on Ukraine. He's trying to stop a war that could possibly escalate into World War III. No, I didn't see that. The vid of me calling him Destiny institutionalist. I didn't see that. I'm sure it was a good one if it was me. All right. So we're not going to get the same amount of people that we had watching, but that's okay. So let's go on. So the point I was making is, you hear things straight out of the mouth of so many of these leaders, and yet you're called a conspiracy theorist for believing what they tell you they're doing. So Chris Murphy, who's a big Ukraine hawk, right, criticizing Trump, he's one of the people spearheading, a senator. In 2014, he's on C-SPAN, and he's saying, yes, of course, we think the U.S. isn't just standing this out when it comes to the Maidan revolution. We think that our sanctions and our actions imparts what led to the revolution. And we've been on the ground, and we've had sanctions, and we're going to help the new transition government. But Rob, he didn't say that was the only reason. Right, let me explain how this works everywhere. The worse off, the more corrupt a country is, or the less first world that it is, you're going to have huge portions of that population that aren't ideologically captured by the leadership. In other words, they might not be the biggest fans. That doesn't mean that that group will win. But if you, like our CIA did for years, and now we ship out to USAID and NGOs, if you strategically foment political ideas, cultural ideas, you get some judges that you're paying to win election, some entertainers, some cultural figures, you give money to the right NGOs that's got people on the ground, you could change the direction of a country and who wins an election. when you talk about color revolutions, people assume you're like, oh, so there were 100% of the people liked Yanukovych, and then the CIA forced everyone to vote for Poroshenko. No. How many people liked Biden? What was Biden's approval rating? Hell, what's Trump's approval rating right now? 50%, right? If you believe the numbers. What's Congress's approval rating? 20-something? Yet they're still winning elections. So if you strategically by the way, the Democrats know this, which is funny, because they used to bitch about money in elections all the time. Now they're doing it again, since they went from all the big money, or most of the big money, supporting Hillary and then Biden. They were all cool with the money then. Now it's back to, Elon Musk, money in elections. But if they know that you're able to convince people if you're putting enough money in, well, what do you think that happens when USAID is throwing tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars at NGOs for the purpose of influencing votes, elections, etc.? But I was told that's a conspiracy theory. The United States had nothing to do with the Maidan revolution. We were just sitting back on our hands going, oh, isn't that interesting? That's interesting. Yes, it fits the playbook of all the other revolutions that are similar that we know that the United States had a hand in. But that one, they were like, no, we did nothing. We didn't do anything. Nope. Now, it didn't matter anyways if the U.S. did or didn't. From the perspective of, would this piss Russia off? One, they'd be pissed anyways, even if no one in the West ever did anything, because they're losing one of their greatest allies that's now allying themselves and basically with their arch rival, the United States. But it was worse than that, because even if the United States didn't engage in a color revolution, they basically made Ukraine their vassal state. Let's do a couple thought experiments. Let's say that the government of Canada has elections coming up. And China throws hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars in to backing the political party that ends up winning, and then basically hands over control of their court systems, so much of their foreign policy, etc., to China. And then there's biolabs that are right in the border of the United States, and China starts like, you know what, maybe we'll put some weapons here and whatever. How do you think the United States would feel about that? Probably not too good. They probably wouldn't be too happy. Let's take it a step back, though. Let's say that China doesn't send that money, but Canada holds elections and the new party gets in, and they basically say, hey, China, we want to be your vassal state. Come help us. We need help. China says, okay, sure. How do you think the United States would feel about that? Think we'd feel comfortable? Literally Russian talking points. Iran supposedly had assassination squads to take out Trump. Every time you say that Trump's policies are Russian talking points, you're spreading Iranian talking points. You're literally cheering for the people that tried to assassinate Donald Trump. You're spewing their talking points. That's what you're doing right now. You're spewing Iranian talking points that tried to assassinate our president. It's disgusting. Disgusting. Why would you do that? That's a stupid point. That's stupid. That's stupid. That's Russian talking points. Right. We saw what happened with the Cuban Missile Crisis. You're spewing Iranian propagandist talking points by saying that people that are sticking up for Trump's plans are spewing Russian talking points. We don't like people that just spew Iranian talking points here. So see you later. You take an hour timeout or a day timeout. Don't like those talking points. And you see, isn't it the same as COVID? Every time you hear someone say, you're just spreading Putin's talking points, just insert Just insert this. What do you want, grandma to die? Same thing. When they wanted you locked down, when they wanted to force you vaccinated, when they wanted to take your children away if you weren't vaccinated. And you were like, but wait a minute, I have questions about this. And they said, what do you want, grandma to die? Same thing. That's Putin's talking points. I remember when the last time I debated I'm Really Important, and I was like, well, there actually are these biolabs in Ukraine. And he said, that's Putin's talking points. And I said, what part of that's not true? And he said, oh, it's true, but it's still Putin's talking points. So if Putin comes out tomorrow and says, actually, we want a world of peace, and then Zelensky says, I want a world of peace, are we all in agreement? That's Zelensky spreading Putin's talking points. That's what Putin says. Putin's talking points. But it's a big conspiracy theory that the United States had everything to do with that, even though we could see not just Chris Murphy, but you have other people in real time that were talking about being involved in Ukraine, like John McCain, Victoria Nuland, etc. I don't know what the argument against this Chris Murphy clip will be. He was talking out his ass. He was lying. And they're gleeful. There's another clip from some expert on the Colbert Report back in 2014. And he's so chipper. Oh, this revolution's going in the United States. Their goals like pretend they're not giddy and try to distract Russia while this goes on and blah, 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 blah. It was like when I talked to Dylan Burns about Syria and about us bombing Assad in Syria. And I was like, don't you think this is going to piss Russia off? Who cares? Okay. Now that's all they talk about. Whoops. Turns out Russia cared. Remember when Biden said, if Russia invades, we're going to take care of that Nord Stream pipeline. Remember when he said that? And then the Nord Stream pipeline blew up. And the Biden administration's argument for real was Russia blew up their own pipeline. They literally said, if Russia invades, we're going to take care of that pipeline. Russia invades, pipeline gets taken care of, and the Biden administration's like, yeah, it was Russia. They blew it up. And if you were like, yeah, I don't think that was Russia. I don't think they would self-sabotage like that. Sounds like this was the West, like NATO working with Ukraine. Sounds like they did it. United States working with Ukraine. And what did they say when you said that? That's Russian talking points. Peter Zayan, who's like probably getting paid handsomely by USAID or the CIA. Interesting guy. I like he's smart, but he's certainly parroting the lines from our intel community. I watched him a year and a half ago saying, okay, so the way that Ukraine wins is they have to cause a mass casualty event inside of Russia. That's what they need to do. And he was like, the way they do it is there's this dam, and this dam provides so much of the water for the fields that end up going for the crops of Russians. And if that dam got blown up, it would literally cause the starvation or potential starvation of all of these Russians. Okay? Hey man, all's fair in love and war. From the perspective of Ukraine, you got to do what you got to do. I'm not begrudging that. But then that dam got blown up. So did Peter Zayan say, oh, okay, Ukraine did? No, he was like, it was the Russians. Wait a minute. So Russia's so dumb, they literally took the one action you said would cause them to lose. That's what they did. That's a conspiracy theory to think that maybe Ukraine did it. What? They just blatantly tell you, yeah, we're helping lead this revolution. We're putting sanctions, and without us, we don't know that it would have worked. And we're working with the people we want to work with the government that's coming in. That's a conspiracy theory to say that happened. Yeah, we're going to take out that pipeline if Russia invades. That's a conspiracy theory to say that happened. Yeah, Ukraine should really blow up damn, that would really harm Russia. That's a conspiracy theory to say that Ukraine would do that. How many times are we going to put up with this bullshit? Where's your proof? You got a written statement from the CIA saying, yeah, we did this? Do you got that? Do you got Zelensky on tape saying, yeah, we blew up the dam? Then I guess it didn't happen. Institutionalists. That's what these people are. Unless there's an admission by the people in charge. Even if there's an admission, yeah, like literally, this could happen tomorrow. Like, Zelensky could come out and say, or we'll say Starmer in the UK could come out and say, yeah, we're gonna blow up an airbase in Russia. We're gonna do that. Like this month. And then that airbase could get blown up in Russia, and they would look you straight in the eyes and go, we didn't do that. And that's Putin's talking points to say that we did. How dare you suggest? But you said you were going to do it. How dare you? Why are you spreading? What are you, pro-genocide? We need to stand with Ukraine. And you're spreading Putin's talking points. It has all the hallmarks of a Russian attack, right? They did it themselves to garner sympathy. That's what happened. How dare you accuse us? So it appears that aid has been halted. We'll finish up. Now, when I'm not at home, I can never do Twitch. Plus, I'm banned from Twitch for 30 days anyways. Last thing we'll say, so it looks like that Trump's halted. Good, Trump should have halted. Halting aid's of... Let's see. I know everyone thinks that, you know, all the people that hate Trump, they're like, Zelensky's a Chad. I've seen the memes. People using AI to make it look like Zelensky's slapping Trump around in the chair. How'd that work out? The Twitch ban's simple. I got 30-day ban on Twitch because I was streaming with Connor, who used homophobic slurs like 8 times. So I got a 30-day ban. Jordan, thanks for the $5. Says, do you agree with T Jump that we need to lock up gravity for its immoral actions against humanity? He really said gravity is evil and immoral. No, I guess I don't agree with him. I want you to think of something for a second, and then we'll wrap up. Let's say that meeting occurs exactly as it played out, right up until the point where Zelensky's like, I got a question for you, JD. Why do you think a ceasefire will work this time? Now imagine in response to that Vance goes, well, and Trump goes, you make a good, yeah, I guess. Anyways, we're wrapping up here. What do you think the Democrats' narrative would have been? What would it have been? Zelensky's like, I got a question for you, JD. And instead of responding, JD's just like, well, we'll see what we could do. What do you think they would have said? Just take a guess. What would the narrative coming out of that meeting have been? Trump's weak. Zelensky showed him what a man is. That's how you do things. That's what a real man looks like. And little crybaby Trump and JD, they couldn't even respond. They couldn't even muster a defense. Clearly Zelensky was right. I think that this aid should be stopped for reasons that I've articulated for years now. Not the least of which is I want this meat grinder to end. I don't agree with Eric Swalwell that I, as an American, am getting something with almost no return. I'm getting a huge return on investment with almost no cost, except the blood of Ukrainians. I don't want that. I don't want to push us closer to World War III. It's not in my interest I don't want that. But I think that Trump will eventually give aid again. I think that Trump is going to want an apology, even if it's not an official "I'm sorry." He's going to want some sort of public statement of reconciliation from Zelensky for two reasons. One, yes, ego. Absolutely. Ego's part of it. I'm sorry, but it's true. And it's not even necessarily a bad thing. Yes, a big part of that's Trump and Vance's personal egos, but an even bigger part of that is ego for what Trump is, the leader of the greatest country in the world, the United States. How dare you? That's one. But the more important reason is because Trump is interested in this mineral deal as part of a three-part plan to solve this crisis. Part one, get the mineral deal so that there's an excuse for American contractors to be on Ukrainian soil. That makes it easier for him to explain to people. By the way, I'm not in favor of this, but this is his plan. That makes it easier for him to explain to people in the United States, look, our people are there. If Russia invades, they're harming our people. They're harming our resources. Step one. Step two, get a ceasefire as quick as possible. Step three, hammer out the terms of a long-term deal. Part of step three is entering into economic negotiations with Russia, lifting sanctions on Russia, having trade deals with Russia. That's the idea. If Zelensky is unwilling, and you saw Trump, and this is Trump's statement earlier in the day, or maybe it was late last night, where Zelensky was like, it's going to be like a long, long war. And Trump put out a statement, was like, no, I hope that's not what Zelensky's thinking. Then today I saw him somewhere and he said, look, he's not going to be around long. People aren't going to listen to him long, Zelensky long. They're not going to listen to him. If that's his position, that this is going to drag on. Because that's a non-starter for us. It's not going to drag on. We're not going to keep sending you this aid if you're not going to agree to a ceasefire. That's it. The reason that Trump's going to want some sort of apology or statement of reconciliation is Trump thinks it's a non-starter if Zelensky's going to say, basically, unless you allow us in NATO or you put something in writing that no matter what, if we're ever attacked, you have our back and will go to war for us, then we're not going to agree to a ceasefire. And Trump says those terms aren't going to work for us and they're not going to work for Russia, so it's a non-starter. And so basically what Trump's saying is, listen, if that's your position, we got nothing to talk about. Nothing. And now Trump's ratcheting up. Okay, we're done sending aid then. We're done. Walter Melon for $5. Centrists pushing to arm Ukraine with nukes wasn't on my bingo card. Oh, of course. They're brilliant, aren't they? It's surreal. So I expect that this halt isn't a necessarily set in stone. It's just Trump showing Zelensky like, we're totally willing to just be done. We're willing to just stop sending you. God bless. Good luck to you. Maybe Europe will step in. Good luck. You know, I put a post out. I mentioned this yesterday. Europe has sent more money to Russia buying fossil fuels in year 3 of the war than they sent in Ukrainian aid. And they're the people beating our chest. How dare the United States not agree to send more? You all are financing Russia. I guess you couldn't be inconvenienced. But that goes with other polling. I saw a poll, the same poll, and the first question was, it was to Europe, people in Europe. And it said, should the United States send more to Ukraine? Overwhelmingly, Europeans agreed. Then the next question was, should your country? Nah, it's like 30%. We don't want to send it. Make the United States send it. Doesn't that sum it up? Everybody says it's a moral imperative to do this, but not they themselves. Other people need to take care of it. Leave the Ukrainians fight and die. Let the American tax dollar pay for it. It's not going to be me. It's not me. I don't want to do anything. We don't give in to bullies. Okay, good luck. The old guy. I don't trust the grok, that stuff like that. Damien Gershwin, thanks so much for $2. Says, how leftists discredit Donald Trump once he ends the war? They'll just say it won't matter. There could be 20 years of peace in the region. Trump could end the war. And on year 21, if there's any sort of attack, they'll say, see, because Trump didn't have the proper security guarantee. Or how about this argument that I love? I heard Dan Crenshaw making on Piers Morgan. Glenn Greenwald's making the case like, look, we basically gave a verbal commitment to Russia that we wouldn't expand NATO eastward, and then we've done it over and over again. And Crenshaw's like, if you think that's what's going on, that they're afraid of NATO, and that's why they attacked, they're not afraid. Then why does it matter if Ukraine becomes a NATO ally? If they're not afraid of that, then wouldn't they just invade anyways? You see how they constantly, it's constant doublespeak. Ukraine's whooping Russia's ass. It's all over but the crime. But please send more money or Russia will invade Poland. But I thought it was over. Russia doesn't have a chance. They can't win. You saw that HN guy say it earlier. Russia can't win. They would have already won if they were going to win. But if we stop financing forever, then what will happen will be that Russia will be taking over all the NATO countries. What? Now it's NATO expansion. They're not worried about NATO. They don't give a fuck about NATO. They're not scared of NATO. Why would they be scared that NATO's coming at their door and they need to hurry up and attack before NATO gets there? That's stupid. But if NATO got there, they're fucked. Then they know they could never attack again. What? All right, we're wrapping up here. Wrap it up. I'm going to try to stream tomorrow. I can't make any promises. Wednesday evening, I'll be home. So I'll be streaming to more platforms. Wednesday's going to be a little weird. I'm going to try to not use OBS and use StreamYard. So it's going to be more Boomer Rob stuff. Messing with my new mic and camera. We'll get all the kinks worked out by the end of the week, I promise. So we'll tune in to watch a fat old man struggle with his tech equipment. It'll be good. So listen, I'll say this in closing. All of my yelling and complaining about this shit, I really do feel worst for the people of Ukraine. I do. I feel bad that how the leadership in that country has been so corrupt for so long that basically they've oscillated from being a vassal state of Russia to a vassal state of the United States. How many of their young men have died, whether it be that nobly volunteered to go fight or that were conscripted into service against their will. I feel bad for Russians that are dying. The grunts, the cannon fodder that go there, they don't make these decisions. I have my reasons for being America first. I talk about it all the time. We shouldn't be involved in these sort of things. I'm unabashedly, primarily concerned with America, with the caveat that I don't want to cause intentional ill will or harm to others. In other words, I'm unabashedly pro-nor family. When I work, my money goes to my family. That's who I care about the most. But I'm not going to steal from my neighbors to help my family. If my neighbor has a fruit stand and I have a fruit stand, I'll compete them but I'm not going to steal. I'm not going to physically harm them. But I do sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, believe that if the United States, circa 3 years ago, 2022, if the United States and Europe, after the initial onslaught, would have pushed for a peaceful resolution, I think that millions of lives could have been saved, that Ukraine would have been in a better bargaining position, And I think the more we finance this, not only is it financing corruption, where there's money going missing and kickbacks and all of that crazy shit, but it's directly leading to Ukrainians' deaths. And I'd like to see that stop. And I'd like to see a halt to, I can't believe the argument that I see so many people making that are like, Trump's pushing for World War III. How? He's trying to end the conflict. Again, the fucking Orwellian doublespeak. Well, if you're not pushing to go to war with Russia, then you're pro-war. Because they'll go to bigger wars and then we'll have to get involved in it. That makes you pro-war. So, I don't know. But it doesn't matter that I say that. I'll still be accused of spreading Putin's talking points and I hate Ukrainians and I'm pro-genocide. These aren't serious people. But I feel terrible. I really do. I feel bad for people in Gaza. I've talked about that. I would like that conflict to stop if it was up to me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the United States will not send this aid and Europe will step in and Ukraine will take what Europe gives them and start kicking ass and it'll all end. Great. That's awesome. Great. Americans can keep more of their tax dollars. Europe stepped up to the plate. They're finally meeting their financial commitments to defense. Awesome. Sounds wonderful. I don't think it's possible. I don't think that Europe could do that. I think if Europe tries to do things like put soldiers on the ground, it'll be an excuse to try to start World War III and to get the United States militaristically involved. But I'll be happy to be proven wrong. I would cheer for that. We tried staying out of wars twice and we got sucked in. How did we try? By helping with the Maidan revolution in 2014? Did we try there? Was that us trying? Sending javelins? Was that us trying? To stay out of the wars? Was that what we were doing? Bombing Assad, having permanent bases in Syria? Russia's out. Was that it? Expanding NATO eastward? Was that us trying to stay out of the wars? I read one post. I can't go up. I'm on a phone, so. I don't buy this shit. The interventionist argument of we have to go to war because when we don't go to war, wars start, and therefore we have to go to these wars. Hey, Roman King, man, you sound brilliant. You sound like an awesome dude. I don't know if you knew this, but Ukraine's taking conscripts. You and all of your buddies that agree with you, head on over, man. Open your pocketbook. Grab your rifle. Hell, they'll probably arm you. Head over. Roman King, should we have boots on the ground in Ukraine? Damian Gershwin, thanks for the $2. Says, leftists demand you be their slaves. Interesting pattern. We shouldn't. Okay. So we should just keep sending just enough to make sure Ukraine's young men continue to get thrown into the meat grinder. I'll ask you the same question I asked earlier. What happens if they lose? Then what? Let's say we keep funding it and 4 years later, Ukraine's lost. They have to give in. They literally have no more fighting force. They surrender. And now instead of Russia having small parts of eastern Ukraine, now they have all of Ukraine. Now what do we do? Do we attack Russia then because we're worried that they're going to go into Moldova? Or do we say, you know what we'll do? We'll fund the people of Moldova and say, hey, you guys take care of it. And then what happens when Moldova gets wiped out? Just curious. Then what? What do you mean we tried to stay out of the war, but they sucked us in? As if we had no agency? All right, guys. Thank you very much. Sorry the first team. Well, Roman, I'm not. You can call in or type tomorrow, but I got to get going. So sorry the first stream crashed. I do apologize for that. Damien, thanks so much for the $2 donation. Says leftists could start sending reparations anytime. Right. I do appreciate it. I do. And Roman, I know it sucks to type when someone's talking. And I talk fast too, so I know that sucks. But we'll give you a chance to make your case. So, but yeah, again, apologies that first stream crashed. Thank you to everyone who donated. Thanks to everyone who watched. I mean, I think that my channel, look, I have a weird channel. My live streams have been doing very well. To do a live stream on a phone here, at one point I had 200 people watching. That's insanely impressive for a guy who for years streamed to 5-6 people on average. So I really do thank you all. On the other hand, my short form content, I'm lucky to broach 1,000 views. So I'm still going to keep putting it out there and keep hammering that algorithm, putting shorts out every day at 2 p.m. My editor, Black Elk's putting videos up almost every day at 8 a.m. So keep looking for those. If you can spare it in your time to check them out, give a thumbs up. Maybe it'll help me with that algorithm some. Because Roman didn't come in and say, I don't have empathy. And then when I was just telling a story about my dog saying that he wishes that I had more empathy for the Ukrainian people like my dog. You see the difference? Fuck nuts. Douchebag. See the difference there, HN? You fucking sack of shit. Get it? He said, I don't think what you're saying will work. I think this is what would be necessary. See? Easy. Why don't you have empathy, Rob? See how that's different? HN has so much empathy for Ukrainians, he ain't doing a goddamn thing to help them. I wonder if HN has any pets. You're buying dog food for your dog, but you're not sending your own personal money to Ukraine? I wish you had as much empathy for Ukraine as you do your dog, fuckhead. All right, guys. Thanks so much. We'll see you all tomorrow. As always, have a good one. Even